crafty friends, Natalie right here again with another fun slime tutorial. Today we are going to make Pom Pom slime, one of my favorites. Whenever I make slime with my kids, I often like to play with it too, so this is a really fun kind of an adult version because the pom-poms kind of remind me of a stress ball. So I'm going to show you how to do this. Really fun to do this with your kids. Again, I'm using liquid starch. We're kind of staying away from the borax because of all the online controversy. I mentioned in my last slime recipe that we've done the borax recipe before. We haven't had any issues. It's a little bit more forgiving than liquid starch is. You tend to get slime that's a little bit stringier with liquid starch, but it just requires a little bit more mixing and kind of blending it together. So you should have good results with this recipe too. So the trick with slime is equal parts glue and starch. So I've got a nice 5-ounce bottle of clear glue here. This works great with the white glue too. I actually think the white glue works a little bit better, but since we're using a fun material mixed in it, we want it to be see-through. I've also found that the borax recipe stays true to the clear glue, whereas the liquid starch is a little bit more opaque, so it tends to whiten your recipe just a tad. Not a ton, but just enough that you do see a difference. All right, so I went ahead and put all of my Elmer's glue into my mixing bowl, and I picked up at Michael's this cute little bag of pom-poms, and I'm just going to dump the whole thing in there. So pretty. And I'm going to mix it together. And what you want to do is mix equal parts glue and starch. I found sometimes with a 5-ounce bottle of glue, the glue doesn't quite come all the way out. So sometimes I just use half a cup, which is about 4 ounces. So start with 4 ounces. If you need more, add more, but that might be just right. So I'm going to go ahead and mix it in there, and you can see that it's already starting to get goopy and starting to form. Add a little bit more starch. And I'm going to continue to mix it. You're going to get to a point where that spoon just isn't going to work anymore. It's just going to get too thick. So mix it as long as you can, but you are going to have to get your hands dirty. Get your kids involved or wear gloves if you don't like touching it. But I think it's fun to get your hands in there. So you can see a little bit of a white tint to it. Some of that will go away, some of that will stay, and that's okay. You can still see those pom-pom balls really, really well. So I'm at a point now where my spoon isn't working quite as well, so I'm going to set that aside. And I'm just going to get my hand in there and squeeze it around, move it around in the bowl. I've found that with liquid starch, you just have to really, really mix it thoroughly. And then what I found is once you feel like it's mixed really well, you kind of want to let it rest. So I'll set it aside and let it rest for 2 to 3 minutes. And it seems to set up a little bit better before you start to play with it. But look at those pom-poms, they're so fun. So you can see what I mean. It's a little bit white, but you can still see that addition really, really well. And if it's a little bit stringy, you want to add a little bit of glue. If it breaks apart easily, you don't have enough starch. I tend to go a little bit runnier, a little bit stringier because my kids seem to prefer it when they can really stretch it out and not when it snaps apart like oobleck does. If you've ever made oobleck before, that's another fun one to do with kids. So really starting to mix well together. I'm going to go ahead and kind of put it in a ball in my bowl. And I'm going to step away for about 3 minutes and let that set up. All right, I've given that a few minutes to set up, and you can see that it's now a nice big goopy form. I'll go ahead and just mix a little bit more, but that slime is ready to go. So fun! My kids love to stretch this and play with it. So be sure to check out my other tutorial with glitter slime and let me know how it works. Let me know if your recipe works for you or if you end up changing a little bit. Everybody's ends up being a little bit different, but really, really fun to play with and a fun activity with your kids. When you're all done and you're ready to store it, this will last a long time if you put it in an airtight container. So I like to use mason jars because we've got so many bottles at our house. They're just kind of fun lined up on the shelf. But a Ziploc baggie or a Tupperware with a lid will work great too. I don't want to lift that up and show it to you till I wipe off my hands. They are goopy. But there you go. So pretty, so fun. Enjoy.